So let's add this last main navigation pattern you see in mobile apps, and that's having a side drawer. Of course, React Navigation has us covered for that as well. From React Navigation, you can import create drawer navigator, which does just what it sounds like. It makes it easy for us to create this drawer-based navigation pattern, and it gives us such a drawer and all the functionality we need to control this drawer out of the box, which is of course very convenient. So we simply create a new navigator, and I'll do this at the bottom of this file. And just a quick side note, of course you could split that into multiple files and have each navigator in its own file and then merge them together into one file by importing them into one central file. That is something you could do. I found it easier for this tutorial also to keep it all in one file. It's also not too big of a file, but you could definitely split this. So I will create my drawer navigator here at the bottom of this file, and I'll store it in a constant named main navigator, because in the end that's what it is. This will be our main navigator in the end, because the tab will be inside of the drawer navigator in the end, our tabs here, so that on both tabs we have access to that side drawer, and the side drawer allows us to go to a brand new screen which will not be part of our tabs. So the drawer navigator is above the tabs navigator in the hierarchy. So how do we configure such a drawer navigator? Basically just as we did it before. It takes two arguments, and the first argument is an object where we configure the screens for this drawer navigator. Just as before, we have identifiers like tabs or meals, favs, whatever a fitting navigator is for that first drawer entry you want to have. And here I want to point at my meals fav tab navigator in the end, because that's what I want to load there. And now the second entry is the filters screen. We must not forget that we have one other screen, that's the filters screen. We haven't used it before, now is its time to shine. And actually I'll wrap this into a stack navigator, even though it will be empty, so that we get a header there as well. So I will add another stack navigator here with create stack navigator. That's a very simple stack. It will have only one screen, and that will be the filters screen, which we therefore need to import here at the top, because we're not doing that yet. Let's import filters screen here from screens filters screen. And now we can use the filters screen down there. Whoops, not here, but here in the stack navigator, and name this filters navigator or anything like that. And now it's this filters navigator, which I map to filters in my drawer navigator. And I only use a stack navigator here so that I also have a header there and for no other reason. Now on the filters screen, we'll of course work on this in a second, but on there's one thing I want to do right away. I will add my navigation options, and I will add a header title there and set this to filters or filter meals, anything like that. With that, back to the meals navigator, we're creating that stack, we're assigning the filters navigator stack navigator to our drawer navigator, and now we just have to use the main navigator here in our app container to start with that. And now if we save this, we see nothing though. Well, I said that the drawer navigator would manage all the logic for opening it and so on. The thing it does not do for us automatically is show a menu icon. So it doesn't show a hamburger button for us. That's something we have to do. And we can decide on which screens to show it. And of course, that would be the category screen, because that's the root screen for the meals tab, and the favorites screen, because that's the root screen for this favorites tab. So in these two screens, I want to add that menu icon. And I add it in my navigation options, as you learned, because there I want to add it with the help of header left. Previously we used header right to add actions to the navigation bar, to the header, but that menu button typically is on the left, so we'll add it here. And I will use my header buttons for this. So I will import from React Navigation header buttons, this package we used earlier. From there I will import header buttons and also item, what we also used before. And also import my custom header button. So header button from components, header button. So the same pattern we used before for adding that star icon in the action bar. Now I'll do it here for the menu icon, for the menu button. And therefore we can now go down to header left and there add header buttons. This here as a component, set the header button component to our header button component we're importing from our own custom component, and add an item in there which allows us to define the title, that should be menu, and then, very important, the icon name, and there you can use iOS menu, and by the way, you can always use the platform API here to use a different icon for Android and for iOS if you want to. And last but not least, also add on press to do something when that button is pressed. And now this should render a nice looking menu button here on that screen. And indeed we see it here on iOS and we also see it on Android. Now again, if you want a different icon on Android that looks more like the typical Android icons, the same is true for the tabs by the way, you can use the platform API to render a different icon there. To save some time, I'll use the same icons. So this is how we display the icon. How do we now open the drawer though? Well, for this we need access to the navigation prop, and we don't have that access in the navigation options like this. But of course you learned earlier that you can use the function form here, where you then get your nav data, you could say. In that function you then have to return your configuration object. So here you have to return an object in the end. And now nav data has such a navigation prop. So now here in onPress we can say nav data.navigation. That will now be available. That's provided by React Navigation, which executes this function in the end. And there you will have a toggle drawer method. You would also have open drawer if you know you only want to open it, but toggle drawer will open it if it's closed and close it if it's open. So here you have toggle drawer, and that should open the side menu. So if we save that, now indeed the drawer opens. And we can work on the styling and the text we see here in a second, but this is how you can open that drawer. Now before we take care about how this looks here, let's make sure we have the same on favorites. And of course you can also pause the video and do that on your own here, because the steps will be the same as for the meals categories here. It's a nice practice therefore, but after this short pause you have to pause this video, we'll do it together. So, were you successful? Let's do it together, and in the end it's all just about copying this setup here to the favorites screen. So I will copy this entire navigation options setup from the categories screen to the favorite screen and replace my navigation options there with it. Of course that means that I have to rename this here to favorite screen and here change the title back to your favorites. But now I already have this dynamic navigation options creation function here where I have the toggle drawer call here. The icon I want to use is the same. We just have to make sure we import all the things we need to import. And for that, we can grab the imports here from the categories screen as well, from the React Navigation header buttons package and from our own header button. Grab that and add it here on the favorites screen. Now with that, if we save this, this should be all. Now on the favorite screen, we also have that drawer and you can open it there as well. And we can not just open it, by the way. If we click on filters, we're also taken to the filter screen. There we right now just don't have a way back. But that's actually something we can also fix right away, because on the filter screen, I simply also just want to have a drawer at the top. So on the filter screen, I will also add my imports here. Whoops, header buttons and so on. And then also add my navigation options here. So copy the navigation options from the favorite screen, this dynamic function, and add it to the filters screen and replace the navigation options there. Of course, therefore, then change this here back to filters screen and change the title back to filter meals or whatever you want here. And with that, we should have a drawer on the filters screen as well. And that allows us to go back to our meals. Now, a couple of things are missing though. For example, on the filter screen, the header looks totally different. And therefore here on Android, I can't even see my button because it's white. The text here is not the text I want to display. I also want to use different colors here, maybe different fonts. So there is work left to do, but the basic drawer functionality was added. And as you see, again, with very little effort. So let's now take care about styling the drawer and that filters screen.